let's try to get into some kind of like more specifics, more practical stuff there. When it comes to more food, what does more food look like? Because I think so many of us, and females in particular, have such a misconception as to what is an appropriate amount of food to be eating. You mentioned how sometimes a lot of people, if they're going on diet after diet or after diet, sometimes depending on their size, they're eating 1,300, 1,200, 11, 1,000, 900 calories. And it's like, for 99% of people, obviously depending on your size, like that is not going to be enough. So like, what is maybe an appropriate amount of calories that, again, obviously it's very particular about body size, activity levels, stuff like that, but try to give us some sort of framework around quantity of food, maybe from a calories perspective, and then maybe like protein and your thoughts on kind of that quantity side of things.
Absolutely. Before I get into that, I want to share two very clear reasons as to why 1,200 calorie diets aren't for you. Reason number one, I used to have a 42-pound border collie, little puppy, ball of energy. And again, she was 42 pounds. And being the nutrition nerd that I am, as she was growing up, I was like, I want to give this girl all the nutrients and energy that she needs so that she can grow into the best, healthiest dog possible. And fully grown, she was 42 pounds. I researched this. That dog needed to eat 1,200 calories a day to maintain. Okay. Reason number two, I have a nephew. When he was 3, this is a guess of age, he was 32 inches tall. And again, being the nutrition nerd I am, I was like, I wonder how many calories this little guy needs. He needed 1,100 calories a day. Guess what? Nobody here listening is 32 inches tall. Nobody here is 42 pounds. If you're not checking either of those two boxes, you should not be eating that little amount of food. Okay. It's a good question though. And it's funny that you asked now because I just researched this the other day as a refresher. On average, the American woman needs to be eating 1,900 to 2,400 calories a day to maintain their body weight in a healthy way. A really easy litmus test for everyone to know, should you eat more? Because you're right, Nick, that was a very broad statement. Should you eat more? Is to download a free tracking app, Lose It, MyFitnessPal, Mike's Macros, you name it, and just track everything you put in your mouth for the next 2 to 3 days. Find the average of that, and then go online to another free TDEE calculator. You probably have one, I have one, we all have one, and figure out what your TDEE is. That's your total daily energy expenditure. It's how many calories you burn throughout your day. If your daily calorie intake that you just tracked for 3 days is less than the number you got from the calorie calculator, you fit that box and you need to eat more food.
100%. 100%. I think that's one of the things that would be super eye-opening and revealing to so many people, some men, definitely a lot of women, is if they go on there and they see what their TDEE should be. Let's say it's 2,000 calories for ease of numbers, and they track and they realize they're eating 1,400 calories, which means they like conceptually and philosophically should be in a caloric deficit, but their weight is staying the same. That's like, no, your metabolism is only burning 1,400 calories rather than the 2,000 that it should be. And that's often because probably you have very little muscle mass and you're not eating very much, and maybe you've chronically dieted. So it's important to do that exercise because it can be very eye-opening and revealing to a lot of people, like, wow, I am burning way less calories than I typically should be at this height, weight, activity level.
You nailed it. And that's a scary thing to think of at first, of like, hey, I've been taught that I need to eat these 1,400 calories, but Nick and Joe are saying I need 2,000, and the calculator saying I need 2,000. And yeah, that's terrifying because you probably think you're going to gain weight until you eat that 2,000 and you're like, holy shit. Like, I had a donut and a piece of pizza and I still hit my protein goal and I enjoyed life. And now my cravings are actually gone because I listened to them and I just stepped on the scale and I'm not any heavier than I was and I feel way better. And then that scary feeling is actually a really freeing feeling.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's like a lot of people, for example, if they've been so conditioned to only eat, like, let's say 1,400 calories, because that's the number we were just using, if they learn that they need to be maybe eating 2,000, it's not like you have to go to eating 2,000 calories every single day from here on out, right? It's like ramp it up slowly. Go to 1,450 for a week, go to 1,500 for a week, and then slowly but surely add things up, because that will ensure that like your digestive system adapts. That'll ensure that you aren't putting on unnecessary body fat by just ramping up calories crazy in a short period of time. So, and then like you're not just overly full as well.
Yep. Yeah, you're a great teacher because we're missing a lot of applicable things, right? People should not be jumping from 1400 to 2000. That's actually a surefire way to gain weight. But if you do it slowly and teach your metabolism and your body that it's safe and that it's actually getting the food that it needs in a slow, consistent way, that's how you mitigate the weight loss and still reap all the benefits.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's very insightful that you said the average woman might need 1900 to 2400 calories per day. I would definitely, without looking at the study or that number or anything, I would have to tend to agree that that's probably pretty accurate. We said more food, we said heavier weights. I think a lot of women will look at 10-pound weights and pick up 10-pound weights because that's what they've always picked up, and like they feel a little bit of a burn at some point after doing 10, 12, 15, 20 reps of something, and they think because I feel a little bit of a burn, that's heavy enough. I know it's a very broad question. As a fitness coach, this is a very broad question, but I'm going to let you run with it however you'd like to. How heavy of weights should we be using, and maybe like how regularly?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that there's one really clear way to answer this. And it actually just came up in a challenge I ran. We were doing exactly what you and I are talking about, teaching these women to lift usually 2 to 4 times a week, lift heavy, and then eat more food. And on average, people lost 6 to 8 pounds in those 4 weeks by eating more.